Hmm. Whew. Hello, my name is Thomas, and welcome to my channel. Today, I am sitting in front of my home office, and the plan for today is to rearrange this home office so that the layout is changed up quite a bit. So, the current layout of this room has pretty much been the same way ever since I moved in, which was now roughly 4 years ago, I want to say. So I have my computer desk up against the wall, as you can see. I have two screens. I have another desk off to the side, which is sort of like a arts and crafts workstation. This is extra space for me to do some modifications to diecast cars and other, arts and crafts activities that I might want to do. I can use this space here for that. Although right now this space mostly has become a sort of dumping ground for all of my stuff. To the left side of the room, left if you're facing the wall and coming in. So this actually here is the door. You guys can't see it, but there's only one way into this little room slash home office, and it is through the camera. But to the left side of the room is these two IKEA drawers, and again, this was mostly just for storage and for me to put stuff there. And then there is one window in this room, and this window doesn't really have much of a view because of the way the building is. Basically, when you're sitting at the computer and you look out the window, all you see is a wall. And yeah, that's pretty much it. And I would say the setup actually works pretty well. There's nothing wrong with this setup because it has a good setup in the sense that everything's sort of right around you when you're sitting here in the center. You can easily grab stuff off of this table. Obviously, you can really easily work off of this table here where my computer is. The current setup of the room has two effects. The first is that there's not much in terms of giving you cues to the outside world. So, like I said, there's only one window here, but because I leave the shade down because my neighbors basically are right off to the side. Their apartments can essentially see into this room, so I have to leave the shade down for privacy. And even when you're sitting in this position, you don't really get to see much anyway. And because of that, you sort of lose track of time. You don't really feel the passage of time. You don't get cues as to the time of day, really. And you don't get to see the weather either. And I think because of that, it leads to the second thing. It can make you feel like you're kind of enclosed in. And I say that because when you're sitting here facing up against the computer and the wall, you're basically surrounded on all three sides, and the opening of the room is behind you. So, in terms of feng shui, that's kind of weird because any light from the living room and any air that's coming from that window is hitting you in the back of the head, which is just sort of really odd flow and energy if you think about it. And that sort of enclosed setup with you having your back to the opening to the rest of the apartment, combined with the lack of a visual cue to the outside world, and as a way of sucking you and drawing you further into these two screens because they are sort of the center of this room, right? Because this is the computer setup, and I have two screens here. And when you're sitting here and you're just facing this, and then you got the three walls around you, it just has a way of sucking you in. And I don't really like that. I don't really like the feeling of like feeling like time just sort of passes by here and like I've been sort of sucked into my computer. And a lot of the times I feel like it's not even necessarily doing productive stuff. It's like watching videos on YouTube or playing video games anyway. And I've wanted to change the setup for a long time so that instead of me facing the wall and feeling like the room is enclosed around me, I want to flip the setup so that I'm facing outward so that I'm facing this way. And that way it feels like the room is opening towards me. And I just never really had the time to do it because, I was in Thailand for like 3 months. That was a lot of traveling this year. And then when I came back, I was trying to crunch and finish up the manuscript or the first draft for my book, and then also to get out the last remaining videos. But now we are in January. I've got a lot of that stuff settled down. And now that I have the time and the energy and the space, especially today is perfect day to do it because it's snowed today. It stopped right now, but it snowed today. I was going to go out and hit the gym, but I figured if I'm not going to go out, I'm just going to stay in. I might as well get around to rearranging this room. So the new room out, the new room layout is going to look like this. I am going to take this desk, that is sort of my workstation desk, and then put that up against the window over there. So basically, this is swapping places. These two drawers are going to go up against this wall, sort of in like a back to back arrangement. And then this main computer desk, this wood trim desk you see here that my computer is set up on, I'm going to pull this out from the wall. So that's going to be like right here. And then basically flip it around 180 degrees. So that way I can get this chair behind it up against the wall. So then I can now have the setup where I can use the computer and see outwards into the rest of the apartment. Yeah, so that's going to be the new layout. And the first step is I need to clear off a lot of the loose stuff on this desk and that drawer. I already did some of the work there. That's why one of them is empty. And then also this desk as well. And I need to clear that off so that when I'm actually move things around, things don't just fall off and fly off everywhere. After that, we're going to unplug the computer and everything there. And then we are going to unplug everything so then I can actually shift this desk and pivot it around. And after we move everything, then it's just about setting up the computer again. And yeah, we should be good to go. So yeah, let's do it. Ooh, that's good. Okay, so there's actually what would you call this? Like a shelf? Yeah, like a shelf thing right here. This thing, I'm not moving. So that helps because there's a lot of loose stuff on this thing. I don't have to move this or the stuff. But one thing I didn't show is that I actually have an open suitcase right here. So I am going to put a lot of the loose stuff into this suitcase. That's on the desks. So that'll save me some time instead of having to pack it up. And yeah, I'm just gonna leave the suitcase right here. We're gonna move a lot of this loose stuff into the suitcase and then plug the computer. Let's go. Check this out. Peanuts. Alrighty. This, yeah, it can be shifted, but I'm going to plug this. We're in a pretty good spot. Cleared the room. I've got a whole bunch of stuff in this luggage. I'm gonna move this luggage out. Actually, I have more room to work with. All right, next step. Gonna disconnect, unplug all these cables. Then we'll shift things around and plug everything back in. This guy. All right. Back to back. So this thing is still open. Nice. Okay. Now comes the tricky part. We need to shift this entire thing this way. So let's get all the loose stuff. This desk first. Pivot. Pivot. Ooh. Wow, that is way tighter than it would be. Yes, this is. Ooh. Ooh. Whew. All right. It's been, I think, more than a week since I've made the change in this room setup. And I have to say, I really like it. As you can hear, the planes are now back to their regular scheduled flights because the snow has started to melt here in New York. So I probably should have filmed this earlier when the snow was still heavy and a lot of flights were delayed or canceled. One of the goals of rearranging this room was to improve like the lighting, and I feel like that's definitely been improved because I have the window right here which lets in some light, and then I have this door window thing here which allows me to see out into the hall. So it gives the feeling like that there's like a corridor of like light or energy that just flows from one end of the room to the other. There's also the fact that I am now facing the outside of the apartment, and that gives a little bit more light that comes in, even though most of it is blocked by my monitor. But it feels much better to be in this position. And I feel like I also get a little bit more airflow because now the air is coming into the room and it feels a little cooler when I'm sitting here. Let me show you guys something I dug out of my closet, which was this toy I saw at the supermarket, and it is a microwave. So you can open it up, and play with it, and when you press this button, you see the light turns on, and this thing actually spins just like a real microwave. Pretty neat, right? Yeah, I saw these at the Chinese supermarket. I just thought they were neat. There's also a refrigerator and a washing machine version, and they also like are motorized and they light up and do stuff. So I got to play around with those a little bit. But back to the desk setup. Overall, I feel really good about this. I feel more productive here. I've already reread through the entire manuscript of my book. Gonna go back, do some of that revisioning, and it feels good to sit at this desk. I definitely feel more productive, and I think part of that is that the arrangement feels, I don't know, it just feels more comfortable for me. And I think part of that is just because things have changed and it's like a fresh environment. It feels different for me. Of course, there are trade offs. And one of the trade offs is that I've got a lot of wires hanging out on the other side of this desk. There's not really a good way to hide all those wires, but that's okay because I never see the wires when I'm sitting at this desk. And another trade off is that there's definitely less usable space, so to speak, with this arrangement because now the desk is sitting in the middle of the room and there's really not much room in here to do anything else. But it wasn't like I was really using that space for anything before anyway. Before there was more empty space, floor space, and real estate in the room, but it wasn't being used for anything. So yeah, that's my recommendation. This feels like a fresh start going into the new year. I'm glad I did it. And if you have a home office or if you have a setup at home for your desk and it just feels a little stale, you don't quite feel the urge to be productive, then I would recommend you shift things up. You know, rearrange the room like I have here. Also, add some things that that might give it a little bit more energy. So I bought that light bar from Marshalls. It was like 17 bucks, and it just adds a little bit of color and warmth and energy to the room, and that's been really cool. And yeah, I think overall, that's all I've got for this video. Thank you for watching. I will see you in the next video. Until then, take care of yourself, and if you can, someone else too.